Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz. This is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB game scheduled for Sunday, June 23rd, 2024. And if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily rundown best bet in the MLB, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Sunday, Major League Baseball. First up, we have the Roku game between the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Philadelphia Phillies at 11:35 Eastern. Slade Cecconi and Christopher Sanchez are your starters. I'm looking at the under in this game. We know Slade Cecconi struggled this year, but he's been a lot better on the road than he's been at Chase Field, and we've seen that with a few starting pitchers in this Diamondbacks rotation. So far in 13 innings at Chase Field, Cecconi has a 13.15 ERA on the road and 37 and a third. He's got a 3.38 ERA and a much lower opponent's batting average. So for me, while the Phillies are still a tough matchup, I think Cecconi can give the Diamondbacks 5-6 decent innings like he did in that last game. It was more than decent. 6 innings of shutout ball with 6 strikeouts against the Nationals in a 5-0 victory. Now on the other side, Christopher Sanchez is also, I've mentioned, I think he's one of the more underrated starting pitchers in baseball. He's got a sub-3 ERA, sub-2 ERA at Citizens Bank Park. It's also not an easy matchup against a tough Arizona Diamondbacks lineup against lefties, but I think Sanchez pitches well. I think we go under the total here in Arizona, Philadelphia. Next up, we see the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Aaron Savale and Paul Skeens are your starters. I think Paul Skeens pitches well in this game. He's been excellent so far in his rookie year. Right around 40 innings of work with 53 strikeouts, 2.29 ERA. He's 4-0. The Pirates win a lot of his games. And I think the Pirates go on to win this game. The only hesitancy I have with this one is the price. I think the Pirates right now, when you look at that last game against the Reds, you look at this game, I think they're overvalued Skeens on the mound. He's a great pitcher, but he's only going to go about 6 innings. And even if it's 6, lockdown innings like we've seen for a majority of his starts, you got to sweat that Pirates bullpen, which has been near the bottom of the league in ERA and expected numbers. And you got to look for the run support, which he's been able to get some run support so far, but this is still a pretty weak Pirates lineup in my opinion, especially the bottom of the lineup. Not some great options there. So for me, I'm going to lean towards the Pirates on the money line. I think they'll be able to get to Savale for a few runs. I think Skeens pitches well, but it's not a game I see a lot of value in. It's just not in my wheelhouse at this number, so I'll be passing on it. Next up, we see the Atlanta Braves taking on the New York Yankees. Max Fried and Nestor Cortes are your starters. I think both starting pitchers pitch well in this game. Cortes has been excellent at Yankee Stadium. Fried has been strong since the rough start to the year. He's been a little bit better on the road himself. For me, in a close, low-scoring game, I actually trust the Braves a little bit more, and I think I'm going to take Atlanta in this one on the money line. When you look at the bullpens, the Braves bullpen ranked 8th in terms of xFIP, and a 3.26 ERA is pretty solid. Now, the Yankees have a solid ERA. It is climbing, and we mentioned there were rushing concerns at the beginning of the year. That ERA was sub-3 for a long time. Now it's at 3.52. Injuries certainly play a role in that, but the expected numbers are still not strong. They're ranked 22nd in baseball in xFIP. I think we continue to see the Yankees regress in the bullpen, and I like the Braves to grab a W in this one. So give me the under and the Braves on the money line. Next up, we see the Chicago White Sox taking on the Detroit Tigers. We're going to see Jonathan Cannon and Reese Olson as your starters. Two good options. Reese Olson pitched well. It was a bounce-back start for him in that last game against Atlanta, but that was on the road. His last 2 home starts, and Comerica is considered a very pitcher-friendly ballpark, but his last 2 games at home, he's given up 22 base hits, 12 earned runs in 9 1/3 innings. Now, for me, we know the White Sox are one of the worst lineups in baseball, so I think Olson still pitches well in this game, but with how well Cannon has pitched recently and 2 offenses I don't really trust, at this kind of price, I think it's worth taking a shot with the White Sox plus the 1.5 runs. You could take the under as well, but I just think the value lies with Chicago in this one. Next up, we see the Seattle Mariners taking on the Miami Marlins. Bryce Miller and Braxton Garrett are your starters. Garrett has struggled at Lone Depot Park this year. He did so a little bit last year as well, but his last game at Lone Depot back on June 17th, his last start, was a successful one. 6 innings of 1-run balls, 6 strikeouts. So a quality start. He had no walks given up against a decent lineup. Now you face the Mariners, who are below league average in OPS against lefties in the last 30 days. I think this sets up to be a decent spot for Garrett. And Bryce Miller has struggled on the road this year with an ERA above 5.5. Even his last game against Cleveland on the road wasn't a bad outing. Got the win in that one, but he got a lot of run support early, so didn't really have much to worry about. Only had 2 strikeouts in 5 2/3 innings. Gave up 6 base hits and 2 walks as well. So I'm going to go with the Marlins in this one. I think they grab the W at home. Next up, we see the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Cleveland Guardians. We're going to see Yusei Kikuchi and Tristan McKenzie as your starters. Kikuchi's not been great in day games this season, and when you look on the inside, Tristan McKenzie, I just don't really trust his game right now. He has given up a lot of sharp contact, a lot of home runs, 15 of them so far in 70 innings of work, and 42 walks to go with it. That last game against the Mariners was a really, just a tough outing. 2 1/3 innings, 4 earned runs, 4 walks, a home run, and no strikeouts. He has been inconsistent in terms of the strikeout stuff this season, and I think the Blue Jays get to him. This is a lineup that's improving against right-handed pitching. The Guardians have hit lefties very well, so I think we see a high-scoring game in this one at Progressive Field, which has been surprisingly one of the more hitter-friendly ballparks in baseball this season. Give me the over in Blue Jays Guardians. In our next game, we see the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Houston Astros. Albert Suarez and Framber Valdez are your starters. Valdez has not been amazing at Minute Maid Park, but he really pitched well in that last game against the White Sox. Didn't get any run support, but 6 innings, 2 runs, another quality start. We're used to seeing a lot of quality starts from Framber. I think he led the league in quality starts a couple of years ago. But when you look at the Orioles, while they're hitting lefties well overall this season, in the last 30 days, not so much. They're ranked 26 in OPS. Their isolated power is also well below league average. So I think Framber pitches well. Suarez had a great start to the year. Still has good numbers on paper. But that last game against the Yankees, a little bit concerning for me. 5 walks, 6 base hits, 3 runs in that one, only 3 2/3 innings. I think the Astros can get to him for a few runs. He also doesn't pitch that deep into games. And while the Orioles bullpen's fine, I still think that the Astros have the advantage there at starting pitcher. And I like their chances to grab a W in this one. Give me the Astros on the money line. Next up, we see the San Francisco Giants taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. Logan Webb and Sonny Gray are your starters. Great pitching matchup in this one. I think we see a low-scoring game. I would lean towards the under and the Cardinals. I just think if it's a close game late, I trust their bullpen just a little bit more. I like the fact that they're home for this one. Logan Webb, we know, has been known to be a lot better at Oracle Park, but even his last few road games, like the last one against the Cubs, 7 innings, 2 runs, still pitched well in that one. So I don't think he'll get rocked. I mean, he's been pitching, and he's gone 7 or more innings in 4 of his last 5 starts. He's been really consistent and efficient for the Giants. So, like I said, I don't think either starter struggles, but I trust Gray a little bit more at Busch Stadium and the bullpen as well. So give me the Cardinals on the money line. Next up, we see the Kansas City Royals taking on the Texas Rangers. Alec Marsh for Kansas City, no official starter for the Rangers. Tough game for me to look at. I'm going to lean towards the over. Marsh has not pitched well on the road this year. He was coming off that game against the A's, 7 earned runs and a home run and 3 innings on the road. The Rangers, no official starter. If they have to rely on that bullpen, we know it's been one of the weaker bullpens in baseball. The Royals bullpen, while it had a really good start to the year, has tailed off a little bit, and the expected number is actually dead last in baseball in xFIP. So a lean for me to the over in Rangers Royals. Next up, the Washington Nationals taking on the Colorado Rockies. Jake Irvin and Kyle Freeland are your starters. Freeland returning to the Major League mound for the first time since April, and we know he struggled quite a bit before the injury. Had an ERA at 13.21 at the Major League level. His rehab starts, the control was still off for me. I think he had 5 walks in 8 innings in AAA. For me, I trust the Nationals just a little bit more here in terms of their bats against Freeland than I would the Rockies against Irvin. And now Irvin's a young pitcher, hasn't pitched at Coors Field yet in his Major League career, so that we know that's not always the best spot to be in. But he has been decent on the road this year. I mean, more than decent, 2.55 ERA, 4-1 record. And like I said, I think the Nationals get to Freeland early in this one, get him some run support, and win this game. So give me the Nats on the money line. Next up, we see the Minnesota Twins taking on the Oakland Athletics. Pablo Lopez and Hogan Harris are your starters. Disappointing season so far for Lopez. ERA above 5.6, even steeper on the road, but the expected numbers remain strong. I do think we see him return to form at some point, and this is a decent matchup for him against a pretty weak lineup in the Oakland A's. I think Lopez goes about 5-6 solid innings in this one. I think it's going to be enough for the Twins to win this game and cover the run line. Hogan Harris is pitching well on paper, 2.37 ERA, but the expected numbers are not great for him, and I do expect big-time regression going forward. The Twins have crushed lefties in the last 30 days, so I like their matchup here. I think the Twins win this game and cover that run line. Next up, we see the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the San Diego Padres. Tobias Myers and Michael King are your starters. Tobias Myers has pitched well this year, and especially recently, but the expected numbers are still not the best when you look at the expected ERA above 4, the FIP at 4.65. The per nines aren't the strongest. It's less than a strikeout per inning. The walks are a little steep. The home runs are a problem here and there. So I don't love backing him in this spot on the road. Michael King has not been amazing at Petco Park, but he has been pretty profitable at Petco Park, and he had a couple of bad outings there that really rose his ERA, his home ERA, But I mean, you look at the last few home starts: 5 innings, 2 runs, and a win for San Diego. 5 innings, no runs, and another 10-3 victory for the Padres. 2-1 win for the Padres over the Marlins. They lost to the Rockies at home, but then they beat the Dodgers of all teams. 7 innings, 11 strikeouts for King in that game in a win for San Diego. So I'm willing to take the Padres in this game. I think it's going to be a close one, but I like San Diego's chances to grab the W. And the final game we're to talk about for the Sunday card in Major League Baseball, it's the New York Mets and the Chicago Cubs on ESPN, 7 p.m. Eastern. Now, I just like the way the Mets are playing right now, especially offensively, so much stronger than they were at the beginning of the year. When you add in a bat like JD Martinez, you get guys back from injury like Francisco Alvarez, guys from the minor leagues like Mark Vientos producing the way he has, and even some role players like Jose Iglesias adding in a few base hits and RBIs like we saw in the first game of this series. This Mets lineup is a lot more dangerous. Lindor's also, sharpening up after a rough start to the year. I think the Mets are a tough team to face right now, and Javier Assad's pitched well, but the expected numbers aren't great. I do expect regression going forward. Severino, he's given up a lot of base hits, a lot of sharp contact recently, but the Mets continue to win his games. The Mets are 4-0 in his last 4 starts. I think he'll be good enough. I do think the Cubs will get to him for a few runs, but in a higher scoring game, I still like the Mets' chances to grab the win. So give me the New York Mets on the money line. And that's it. Those are the games for Sunday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.